Hey, do you wish your GR3 had like one setting you can just turn it to and then click and shoot, point and shoot, don't worry about anything? I'm going to share it with you today. You're going to love this one. Watch the screen here, watch it. F8 and be there. F8 and be there. That's what it is. You don't have to worry about anything. Just click. Looks like a crime scene, eh? Crime scene, do not pass. With this setting you can work fast, you can work efficiently. You don't have to worry that you're not going to be sharp. There are some caveats, but I'll show you about that later when we go into in-depth. For general daytime shooting in reasonable light, I don't think you can beat it. I'm going to go over how you can set up your GR3 now. There are chapter markers if you want to jump forwards to a certain section. Step 1, set the mode data aperture priority and then set the aperture to f8. Simple. So go into menu settings and go to ISO setting, which is in the still image settings. Go to ISO setting and it needs to be on auto. I set my ISO auto upper limit to 6400 and the lower limit to 100. Then I set my minimum shutter speed to 320th of a second. Next it's time to set the focus. So go to focus here and select MF, manual focus. Come out of the menu and now you see that we have the menu scale on the left hand side. This is manual focus mode. So to adjust the manual focus, press the wheel up as if you were going to go into macro mode. Now you can adjust the focus distance by turning the wheel. And what you want to do is, you see the green bar on the left. The green bar is the parts of the image that's in focus. So you want to get it so that we have 1 meter all the way through to infinity in focus. And then press the top of the wheel again to exit the focus adjustment mode. Okay, now that focus should be saved at that position. This is important. This is a really important part of this process because the GR3 is such a smart camera that when you save this as a preset, when you go back to it and activate the preset, it will set the focus distance to this point. Now, if you're watching this with a GR3X, this is going to be different because your focal length is different. So you have to adjust for your focal length. It's going to be more difficult to get the focus distance. You might not be quite so close. I'll just go through a few more settings as to how I set it. I mean, a lot of this is optional. It's personal choice, right? But so yeah, the manual focus, obviously that's a given. You can change that. The snap focus doesn't work, I don't believe, on manual focus anyway, so that doesn't matter. Although I believe the touch to focus does work if you wanted to do that. But you shouldn't need to because you've got 1 meter to infinity anyway. Okay, the next thing, I'll just keep my AE metering on area. Okay. ND filter I use on auto. Most of the other stuff, it's pretty self-explanatory. The drive mode I like continuous because my feeling is that with street photography, you don't get a second chance to go back and take more shots. So it's better just to pray and spray a bit and then just delete the ones you don't need, because you can't go back and get some more, right? You know, I mean, if somebody's walking and someone's, you know, things happen so fast on the street that you can't really always get the exact timing perfectly. So I think continuous mode is the best for that. What else? I'll just shoot RAW. I don't bother shooting RAW plus JPEG. I'll make the JPEGs later if I need to. I shoot in Adobe RGB. Now the image control, obviously, again, it's a personal choice. But if you shoot RAW, you can change it anyway. That's pretty much all the settings. The main takeaway is to make sure that your mode dial is set into aperture priority AV, that you're using manual focus and you've set the distance correctly, so you've got 1 meter to infinity, and then the auto ISO is set with the maximum ISO that you're prepared to go to, and the shutter speed that is high enough to freeze the action. The final thing to do is to save the profile. And if you don't know how to do this, I'll link another video in the description that goes into this in detail, how to save, how to recall, how to rename presets. But we're going to put this into U1, U2 or U3. Now, I always keep this one inside of U1. Let's just go down to customize settings. Oh, not that one. Let me come back out. Customize settings and save settings there. So you press save settings and there box 1, F8 and B there. That's where I keep it. So you just choose the box you want to put the preset into and then enter the name and enter. I'll use the wheel on the back, I'm afraid, to do this. And then it's done. And then, yeah, press OK. And data process completed. Okay, folks, let me tell you how to use this preset and what to expect from it. So during normal daylight conditions, you shouldn't have to worry too much about anything. But when the light does start to decrease, or for whatever reason it's not as bright as you want it to be, then there's some things to consider, and this is how it works. Okay, so I'm currently filming at night, so I'm simulating this kind of light. Okay, so as you see from the settings, we've got 800 ISO, f8 and 3/20th of a second, because that was the auto ISO setting, if you remember, 320th of a second. Now, as the light starts to go down, and I'll move my camera away from the light, the first thing that's going to happen is that the ISO will start to go up like this. And then when it hits the 6400 limit, the next thing to be affected is the shutter speed, the shutter speed starts to go down. Okay, so you have a choice at this point. If it's getting too dark and you know, it's too slow, the shutter speed, you can either increase the ISO setting to say 12,800, or you can drop the aperture down a little bit, f7.1, f6.3. But as you do that, the focus distance becomes shorter. See, you'd be down to 5 meters now. But as long as the subject's still within 5 meters, it would still be sharp. So just be aware, this is how it's going to work, okay?